may not be suitable for all audiences.
What's the score?
Nothing.
Who's winning?
The Bears.
Art 101 with Mr. Burgher.
Welcome back to another episode of Art 101 with me, Mr. Burgher. As you know, I'm a professional artist and a master educator attempting to provide you with the best in art historical content. If you like the content, like, share, subscribe, interact, to do all those things to help me out in every way, shape, and form there is. I appreciate you.
In our society, with art now, with music, with our culture, people want authenticity. They want to be told the truth by you.
Yeah. There are so many art groups and art exhibitions that have changed the course of art history. I mean, it'd be impossible to list them all, but one group, the Impressionists, did just that. And today we're going to talk about their fourth exhibition that took place in Paris. So let's just jump right on into it. So where do we start? We start where we basically left off. The last show, the third Impressionist show, took place in 1877. During that time, some of the artists began to drift away. There were some pretty strong supporters that were in favor of this fourth exhibition, those namely being Gustave Caillebotte, Edgar Degas, and Camille Pissarro. These three felt that the only way to move forward was continuing to have exhibitions for the public to view their work. In the third show, they were beginning to get seen in the press, and there was some positive buzz around the group. Now, in contrast to that, you have an individual by the name of Claude Monet, who was very unwilling to exhibit at that particular time. He felt that the group and his association with them was having negative influences on the sales of his work, and he was in a pretty dire financial situation at that time. He was lent money by Edouard Manet, Gustave Caillebotte, as well as others, for him to be able to pay for his apartment and continue to work, but his debts were getting out of control. As things were beginning to ramp up, one of the first Impressionist artists to jump ship was Pierre-Auguste Renoir. One of the most famous, to this day, Impressionists out there, was one of the first to leave. His work was instrumental in making the first three exhibitions a success, but he was looking to submit to the Salon. And if you remember back to the third exhibition, Edgar Degas put in place this non-binding rule that Impressionists should not show in the Salon. And so basically, Renoir was put in a situation where he had to leave to save face with Degas. This gamble, for him, definitely paid off. His work was put into the Salon in 1879, the year of the exhibition, as there was no show in 1878, and his work was very well received at the Salon. So that was a pretty good gamble on his part. The second to jump ship was Alfred Sisley. Now, Sisley was always in a financial situation, and he was doing a lot of landscapes and things like that at that time, always moving to find a better deal on places to live because he had a very modest income and he needed a very low rent to be able to survive. So in this continuous state of instability, it affects his work, it affects his mood, and he's depressed, and he ends up writing a letter saying that he's going to leave the group. But unfortunately for him, his works were rejected by the Salon once again, which caused him to be even more depressed than he was in the beginning. At any rate, the third big name to walk away from the exhibition was Paul Cézanne. Now, Paul Cézanne is really more of a post-impressionist than he is an impressionist. However, he was in those first exhibitions, despite some contention on his being there. But be that as it may, Cézanne was a little bit disgruntled by the fact that Monet and Renoir were turning their backs a little bit and withdrawing a little bit from his close friend and mentor and teacher, Camille Pissarro, and he saw that kind of as a blemish on the group, I guess, and he was going to move himself back to Provence although he maintained his loyalty to Pizarro but did not ever exhibit with the group again.
What are you guys doing?
Oh, so you care what we're doing, do you?
So there are artists walking away. There are some artists that are coming in to fill the void. There were a number of artists that were Degas friends and associates that were very much working more in a realist style than an impressionist style. Now, a couple were true impressionists, but for the most part, the people that were coming in were not real impressionist type painters. And they were trying to keep the title a little bit more broad to encompass more than just impressionists. The group was really being tarnished more and more because of Edgar Degas. This unwritten rule of not being able to put work in the salon was forcing impressionists out of the group so that they could participate in the salon show. And the group was even more fractured when he got all kinds of pissed off at Pizarro for congratulating Renoir on his success at the salon. The guy in the middle, Caillebotte, worked to smooth over those tensions in the group, and he was able to help Degas and Pizarro mend the fence a little bit, so to speak, but there still loomed a little bit of tension between Caillebotte and Degas, and the mutual friend that kept them working cohesively was Bertha Morisot, who had recently given birth to a daughter, Julie, and so that was occupying her time. So she didn't really have time to fiddle around with their drama. She was not included in the catalog, but there was a letter that was written from Monet after the show took place that clearly indicates that she had exhibited something, but we don't really know for sure what the something was. And she would not have been the only artist not represented in the catalog. There was another artist that was in the show but not represented in the catalog, and that was Paul Gauguin. Again, Gauguin is more of a post-impressionist than an impressionist, but be that as it may, he had a work that was submitted at the very last minute. This was just 10 days before the opening, and the group agreed to allow Gauguin to put his work in this exhibit. Despite the tension between Degas and Monet, Monet would agree to put some work in the show. This was largely due to the influence of Gustave Caillebotte, who would write to him frequently letters of encouragement, asking him and convincing him really to join in with the group. Some paintings were borrowed from collectors so that his presence was a little bit more known, and specific works weren't really brought in just to be sold but more for display. And in the end, Monet was represented with 29 paintings in the show. Degas had nearly that many, with 25 that were listed in the catalog. Now, according to one account, Caillebotte had said that there were 8 paintings by Degas in this show. And there's another account that says that it was more like 10 because the other 15 weren't up to the standard of Degas to be put in the show. Was it 25? Was it 8? Was it 10? Whatever. It doesn't matter. He had work in the show.
No, not a liar. You just have a common and likable tendency toward exaggeration.
And probably the biggest, most substantial arrival to the 4th Impressionist exhibition was the arrival of the American painter Mary Cassatt. Through her connections with Degas, she would begin to put her work in the show because there was no real competition component to it. Whatever the real reasons were, her work was included in the show.
Don't take a whole lot to get in there. I guess you have to be able to, the entrance exam, you have to be able to write your name in 3 different colors of crayon.
Despite all of these personal dramas that are going on with people leaving and some people coming and all of the drama, the 4th Impressionist exhibition was actually a success. Over the course of the month, the show would attract more than 16,000 visitors. It was noted that the people were coming in a good mood, they were having a good time, people were coming in and really enjoying the artwork that was being presented. When people are coming through the door, that's going to result in profits. Each artist received 439 francs from the exhibition, and that was just from the gate. Some of the artists were also able to sell their works and make even more than that off the show. One of the 16,000 folks that came to visit the exhibition was George Seurat. He was just 19 years old at the time, but he came in and was astonished by the quality of the work and right away began to pursue with even more passion and vigor his ideas of art creation. And so without question, this exhibition was having an impact on the folks that were coming to view it. If not just this example, I'm sure with other examples as well. With people coming and a good response from the critics, it was evident to the group that things were moving in the right direction. Some of the critics that previously said some not so nice things about the show and the artists and whatnot were starting to come around, and they were praising artists by name. And one of those artists that was really catching their eye was Mary Cassatt, as well as works that were done by Monet, Pissarro, and Degas.
Oh, stop! That's a great one! I just love it! That's the best painting I ever saw!
Once everything was all said and done, it really started to strengthen the bond with the group as they were starting to see critics support the work, the public was supporting the work, there were a lot of positive things really going their way, and this caused the core unit, that being Degas, Cassatt, Caillebotte, and Pissarro, to really strengthen their friendship toward future successes down the road. One of the major components that was added in was the component of bringing in revenue through selling prints. Mary Cassatt had studied printmaking in Rome, and she was bringing this knowledge to the group. Degas had owned a printing press, and the group was working together to experiment with different techniques and really working together to try to create prints that they could use to bolster their income.
My God, are we going to be like our parents?
You can't solve all of your problems just by making a little bit of money. And with a very unspoken yet very visible line between the Impressionist exhibitors and the salon artists, it was becoming more and more apparent either you're with us or you're against us. Either you're going to abide by our policies and unspoken rules, or you're going to go down the road to the other show. And these tensions would have consequences that would last and would be very, very evident as we get closer to the 5th Impressionist exhibition. And so stay tuned for the developments as they reveal themselves as we move forward. Scholars, I hope you enjoy receiving that information as much as I enjoy providing it for you. Make sure you have yourself a great day, and we'll see you next time.
You can't even compare the power of YouTube or Netflix to a textbook.